independent economists would be somewhere between 33 and 37 billion. But that is not the crux of it. That is not why the markets are worried. The markets are worried because of the government's credibility, for one, is shot. And the second thing is they realise that other banks are going to need money as well. Now, what is the government going to do in 3 months' time when AIB comes and it says it needs another 7 to 8 billion? What are they going to do then? And that's where we're in big trouble. The credibility is shot. So, yes, a year and a half ago, some international commentators were giving us some kudos for putting in some harsh decisions about our budget deficit. That is all dissipated. It is gone. And the next stage of this crisis is where we're going to have to be going to our EU colleagues and discussing the chances that we are going to have to get into this stabilisation fund.
Because actually, isn't that a fair point, I suppose? Look, on budgetary decisions, people will give the government credit and say maybe tough decisions were taken. But, for instance, the decision to guarantee Anglo-Irish, couldn't you just stand up now and say, that was a wrong decision? It is a bottomless pit of money that is frankly likely to bankrupt this state.
Well, the other alternative was to let all the depositors lose their money. And the consequence of that, when you analyse it, and when you look at the nature of the deposits in the bank, would be a worse disaster.
But would it be the lesser of two evils
No,
at
it
this
would not
stage?
be, Miriam, and that is one of the things.
It's more important to say what to do next. Okay, there's no point,
point
in going back to 2008 and discussing the guarantee. So look, the government says now that it's going to cost 23 billion. Okay, so what they should do is go to our EU colleagues and say that's all we're giving Anglo-Irish Bank, no matter what. Okay, if they're truthful with their numbers, they can go to the ECB and say we are only putting in 23 billion. If we are wrong on these numbers, the ECB puts in the balance. It's very, very simple.
It's not that simple, and of course you know that. That's not that simple. And as the Minister of Finance said on the clip, and as the government has said time and time again, we have taken a very steady course here. There is a problem at the moment.
Steady course, Minister, people don't believe anymore, though. We're borrowing our rates today over 6%. That is staggering, isn't it?
But one of the problems is people are creating huge uncertainties. The fact of the matter is that right from the beginning, every step we took was criticised. But when you now say to people, were we right to guarantee them and show them what the alternative is, they agree. Were we right about NAMA, that we needed to find out what the losses were, no matter how big the short-term pain. And part of the short-term pain is the fact that we have insisted as a government, through NAMA, in finding out the scale of the losses.
But I don't think people, to be fair, you said it, no, can I just say, everybody says they criticise you all along. I don't believe that's true, but I know today in our office, our researchers from so many economists and analysts, and even people, Minister, genuinely, who at the beginning of the blanket guarantee had been supportive.
Well,
even they are thinking it's such a big pool of debt. Get out of Anglo.
Like
let him answer that and I'll let you come in.
Because the very simple answer is, getting out of Anglo means leaving the depositors high and dry. Now, if you analyse the deposit base of Anglo-Irish, the consequences to ordinary people in this country of that option is unthinkable.
Okay, one quick point, and I want to bring in Nicola Farron.
Forget about Anglo.
Okay, let him come in there.
Forget about Anglo. What is your estimate of the losses that NAMA will make? That's very simple.
Well, we have...
You say they'll make a profit. The bond market thinks that's ridiculous. The NAMA is going to lose at least 15 billion, maybe 20 billion. And that is what the market perceives. So there's a huge disconnect between what our government says and what everybody absolutely believes. And the credibility of Ireland is absolutely shot for that reason. That is why, when there's a bond market crisis, though, in 2011 in another country, this is very important, nobody will lend Ireland money. Okay. That's important.
Well, you know, I think that there's a great scare game going on here tonight, and I don't think it's doing any service to anybody. Figures been thrown out around without, like snuff at a wake, without any basis. The fact of the matter is that we're absolutely confident that the figures given professionally to us in government about NAMA will stand up.
I hear what you're saying. Isn't the problem?
And therefore, that figure of that figure that's been thrown out here without any basis, without any argument, is absolutely
Okay, let me come
spurious.
back in there. I suppose we're looking today, I suppose, at the hard evidence of the markets, Minister. I hear what you're saying, but we're looking at the markets.
Yeah, that's right.
And last week I was listening to a man from Standard & Poor's, and his line was that simply in relation to NAMA and Anglo, they don't believe that you can get out of this financial mess the way you were proceeding to do so. They have lost confidence. And I suppose that has a direct impact on the amount of money it's going to cost us to borrow money.
But remember, today there were two issues. One issue was the uncertainty about the extension of the guarantee. That's sorted out. The guarantee has been extended. And the second issue is to crystallise the issue in relation to Anglo-Irish Bank. And as I've said, that will be sorted in the next few weeks.
I just want to come back on the bank guarantee. I just think for people watching, a lot of people 2 years ago, because it's almost the anniversary, Minister, supported it to the extent, because it came out, Brian Lennon and Brian Cowan said it was liquidity that was the problem, not solvency. That's obviously not true. It was to get credit flowing again. That hasn't happened. And it was to keep confidence in Ireland in the financial markets. That patently hasn't happened. So what reasons, Minister, can you give to the Irish citizen tonight to say why this guarantee should have been extended? No, it's a simple question.
Yeah, very simple. And the two reasons are that, as I said, if you actually allow the deposit base of the banks collapse, the consequences for the economy, for our standing in the world, would be much more serious. The second thing is that it is all this talk about going one direction and agreeing with us and then saying, no, you should have gone in another direction, and not having a consistent path. That kind of talk does damage.
That's
what we're doing
point,
is working on a consistent path. We've worked steadily through it. Yes, it is true, and I'd be the first to admit it, every cabinet member would admit it. We did not realise the scale of the losses at the beginning, but it doesn't change the fundamental decisions we made.
It's really unfortunate because the whole reason to put in the bank guarantee for 2 years was so we could restructure the banks. 2 years later, we should have a functioning banking system. We do not have it. That's why we've had to put into the extra 3 months. And again, in 3 months' time, we're going to have to do something similar because we haven't taken the hard decisions that we needed to take on the banks 2 years ago. We haven't done it a year ago. We believed all these bankers. We never even got rid of the boards of these banks. And so 2 years later, we're in the same problem and our economy is struggling. And this whole prospect of we're losing jobs hand over fist, and it's the exact reason because there's no credit going into the economy, even though you said, your minister said, that that will make credit flow in the economy. It hasn't happened.
Okay, well, look, Eamon and Cuiv, Minister, you're staying with me for the next item, so thank you in this. Paul Sommerville, thank you very much in this.